There, let me see yours. Here, no, stop.
Only you two kids, Mommy?
Okay, there you are. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what the heck happened. Hang on, I'm trying to reload this again. Let's see. Okay, here. Go ahead. Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you for sharing again. Here I am. They're about to text me. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Buddy's in the next room right now. But we'll bring him back this week, I promise. Okay. So what I was going to show you, let me get this to pop back up again before it froze. Yeah. Oops is our Buddy. You got that right. Actually, sometimes I call my son Buddy, so that's why I wasn't sure. Okay. So when you, I'm going to just bring this up again. When you go onto Rachthestamper page or Facebook, it doesn't want you to. Yes, because it only wants you to see what it wants you to see, what it thinks you love. And Facebook now thinks, you know, it always suggests stuff that it thinks you like. Okay, so if you are on, and this is whomever that you watch. If you watch Linda, if you watch Connie Stewart, if you watch, Tammy, if you watch anyone, Facebook is doing this to everything now. So what it wants you to do is it wants to know who you really want to see. So what you have to do is normally you would just like and follow, and that's the way it goes. But Facebook, yes, is a controlling stalker. That's absolutely right, Lori. So what you have to do is you have to go into your follow, okay? And you have to turn on your notifications. So sometimes they might not be on. So you want to make sure you turn that button on. And then the second thing you might want to do is your notification settings. So this is standard. So see, it basically told me it's going to tell you all the things on this day, up to 5 a day. Or you could just click the highlights if it was like things that they think you want to see. Or it could be off, which means you never find out. So you want to make sure that if you want to find anyone who you may follow who is live, that you want to have standard. And see that it turned off the live notifications. So you want to make sure that you choose that, because what it will do is when you turn it on, or if you go in there, sometimes your live notifications might be turned off. So you want to make sure that you have them on. So you turn your notifications on. You can edit the settings. Standard is what you want. Okay. And then you'll have default. So the other thing you can do, and this is something that I do with a Disney group that I like because I love, 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 love Disney World. So you can unfollow, which means you'll never find out if I do anything. You can have default, or you can have see first, which basically means that if I am live, it'll put me at the top of your screen. Now that's up to you. You can do default, which will just be like in your normal order, which, you know, whatever your friends may be. Or if you do see first, it'll always pop it on. Kim, if you don't have sound, you might have to go out and go back in again. Sometimes Facebook does those squirrely things as well. So I'm going to just click on this and see if I can hear myself in double speak. Yes, I can hear myself, so you might have to go back out and in again. So I just turned the, yeah, I have the see first feature, Lori. I have that on my, my Disney feed because there's one person that I follow for tips and stuff, actually 2 of them, and I always have them on the see first screen. So basically, you just have to make sure that it's liked and it's followed and that you have your notifications on. And if you're at standard, you should find everything. If you're at highlights, you're going to get less. It's not going to tell you when you're live. And I'm not sure, why is this when you turned off? That's unusual. So it didn't tell me when I was live either. That's why I had to go looking for myself, which is weird because I'm the owner of the page. So you would think it would, with Disney. I love Disney. I love Disney more than I love Stampin' Up. And I love Stampin' Up a lot. But Disney is just one notch higher. Disney makes me so happy. That is really, truly one of my favorite things ever. Okay, so anyway, hopefully that's a little tip for you. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to need to do that for whomever it may be. So for example, if I were to search here for Crafty Stampin', who's Linda Cullen, and I go on here, so I liked her, but I bet you if I go to my things now, it might have my see, right now it turned her just to highlights. So if I don't change that to standard on her, it's never going to tell me if she goes live. Kind of the same thing with Tammy. And it's funny because all of these people were probably originally people that I followed all the time. And I want to know when their videos are on. But the same thing, if you look into it, it only turns the highlights on for you now. So you might see, and this is the thing where I know, and I don't want to get into any debates, but you know how sometimes if somebody talks about something a lot on Facebook that you're friends with, and you're kind of like, I can't see 800 pictures of the food that they're taking because they're on a diet or whatever it may be, and you might turn them down. Well, Facebook has kind of turned everybody down. So you might have to go into anyone that you follow and put them back onto the highlights again, okay? So just so you know, and that's something you might have to do with everything. It is very annoying, but I think, you know, after everything, I guess, that's going on with Facebook and privacy, that they somehow think that they need to adjust your privacy for you, which is fantastic, but I think everybody on Facebook realizes that if you're on Facebook, you're kind of giving up some of your privacy anyway, right? Right, that's what I didn't want to mention. Anything, whatever it may be, whatever any of those hot button items are that you don't want to see, people's dogs, people's kids, people's crafts, so Facebook is trying to help you. But anyway, mutual fund. Oh, I know, I used to love that on Disney. Yeah, so anyway, all the Disney peeps. I love Disney. You were born in Orlando. You were at Disney at opening day. That's pretty awesome, Cindy. I am a little bit jealous of you. And, Donna, it could be different. Yeah, my phone, and it also depends on the version of Facebook that you have. So if you are on your desktop watching, that also has completely different notifications. If you're on a different version of Facebook, it has different notifications. So you kind of, you know, it depends on what it is you're looking at. But anyway, enough about Facebook. Look, I just closed that out. I'm trying to watch the comments here. I wish there were lots of buttons, but apparently Facebook is helping you with that. So whether you think they are or aren't, they're gonna help you out with that, Donna. They're gonna turn everything off, and then you got to turn it back on. But so these are the new in colors. If you haven't seen them, they're beautiful rainbow. I was very happy today. I got to order all of the rest of the new colors, which there are quite a lot of them. Super excited. Ruin traffic in your little town, right? Yeah, not little anymore, is it? What I also got was the markers, and I got a few cool stamp sets. But what I want to share with you today, and this is, again, I told you I can't show you the catalog, I can't show you the inside pages, but we're going to make a really beautiful card using the Peaceful Reflection. And what we're going to do is I'm going to make it almost exactly like it is in the catalog. And then once you see the catalog, then you can already make this. Once you get it, you'll have this beautiful card to make. And it was really neat. The reason I wanted to make this was I saw part of the card, and the coolest part was there was something in it, and I was like, where did they get that from? And that is going to be the neat part about this, is that the other side of the stamps you use. So we only used this little one last week when we made our little Lily Pad Lake card. So we're going to use some different parts of it. This is a photopolymer stamp. It's in the new catalog. It doesn't have any dies or thinlits or anything with it. It's standalone, but it's very beautiful. You can make lots of really pretty cards out of this. You could make these multiple ways. You could do sympathy. As you see, it doesn't have any greeting, so it's very versatile. You can make it what you want instead of seeing something and then you kind of think, well, that's a birthday set, instead of being able to see outside of the box. So that's kind of the cool part when you have just stamps with no sentiments in it. It makes it very open to interpretation for much different things. That way you can make it whatever you want to make it. But what we're going to do is, let's see, I believe this is a Grapefruit Grove card, and we're going to make it on Whisper White. So let me move these little guys out of the way for now, and we're going to get some, I'm also working on some other stuff. So I made a card the other day. I don't have it handy because I would show it to you. It was cute, but it didn't quite make the cut for me for my Mother's Day blog hop card. I don't know if you guys like that or not. So I ended up ripping it apart, and I made a different card with it. This, in case you haven't seen, this is the Mother's Day blog hop card, and I used little liquid glue dots just to make those little drips of rain. This is a really, really pretty card. Okay. Oh, yes, absolutely. And then the inside, I used some of that new Designer Series paper. This is that as well. But I had this other card that I ended up like shredding, and I couldn't throw away the base because there really wasn't anything wrong with it except for the fact that it had some paper stuck to it. So I thought what I was going to do is I'm going to make a different card, like a split level card of something, but I just haven't finished that one yet. So instead, I thought we'd work on something more fun. So we're going to need a piece of Whisper White. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this here at 4. We're going to use this as our panel. I'm trying to think. It's not really exactly 4. It's a little bit of a short card. So we're going to kind of have to modify this one a bit. So it's definitely not 5. I'm going to say it's like 4 by 4.5. And now that I'm looking at it, I think it's a little bit longer. Let me cut this one again. So we have 4. And I'm actually going to go to 3 3¾ by... I'm going to bet it's 5. We're going to keep this at 5. So our base piece is going to be 3 3/4 by 5. And then we're going to grab a piece of, let me see if I can find it here. I still have everything kind of slightly separated. Powder pink. Where's my grapefruit? All right. I'm going to have to pop into a new one of these. So this is the new In Color card pack. Brand spanking new. I have one here somewhere, but I don't want to bore you with having to find that one color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out a piece of the Grapefruit Grove, which is very, very pretty. All these colors are really pretty. They're very bright, which I like that about them. It's very rainbowy. So we're going to cut this into a half sheet, and I think I'm going to do it crossways. So we're going to cut it 5.5. Oh, cut so beautifully. And we're going to score this at 4 1/4. Okay, so we have our piece here scored. And what you want to do, you do want to remember when you fold, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, when you do your score line, you're making the indent to fold closed. You don't want to go opposite because that's when you can start to get the fraying. So when you score down and you fold in, if that makes sense. I know that might sound a little bit backwards, but it basically prevents this end from fraying, because if you turn it the other way, you're going to end up getting it that you get that busted looking edge to it. So when you score down, you want to fold into the score. Maybe that'll make a little bit better of sense. So we have our other little piece here, and that's kind of it. Now we're going to just do a little bit of stamping, and I'm going to tell you, I think they may have used the sponge brayer for this. Again, I'm just guessing, and I wish I could share it with you because then I could show you and you could say, oh yeah, they definitely used the sponge brayer, but we're going to make it and you're going to see how beautiful it is. So I have 2 different ones I'm going to use. I have my sponge brayer, and I kind of keep all of my stuff together for my brayers. And I know I've told you all before how much I love cookies. These are old cookie containers. These are from Chocolate Tub Cookies. They're my favorite. So I just, after I use them, I keep my sponges in one. And then just to kind of keep them together. And then I have my extra sponges. And then I have my sponge daubers in a different one. And I did for a while, like, go with labeling these. But I kind of figure if you stay in the same... called cracking. Yes, there you go, Janet. You don't want to crack it. That's absolutely right. I busted, you know, improvising. But I keep all my my sponge daubers in another one. And then I just kind of keep my extra sponges and then my rollers in this container. So that way I know, like, this is all things if you're going to add like a little bit of accent. But I have this bin. I got this at Lowe's many, many years ago. I got it because I thought it was really neat because I had different dot patterns on here. Looks kind of like Stampin' Up, like the greens that we had and the blues and everything. But I keep all this stuff together, all like the sponging and the brayers and the daubers. That way if I need to grab something, I know it's all in this bin. So, oh, sorry about that. Oopsie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to brayer the top with one color, and then I'm going to brayer the bottom with a different color. So, yeah. That's okay. That's a good thing to learn, Cheryl. You know what? Sometimes you learn by if you did it wrong. And believe me, I'm sure there's plenty of times when I folded mine the other direction. So that's okay. As long as you learn from your mistakes, that's what we're here for, is to do stuff together and learn. So I'm going to go with the fact that I'm going to use, since everyone loves soft sky, I'm going to use some soft sky for the top. And then for the bottom, I'm going to use Marina Mist. And then we'll go with the colors from there. But again, this card is very simple. I'm making it sound much more complicated than it is. It's really not very complicated whatsoever. But with your sponge brayer, these come in, you get two sticks and 4 sponges. And these are rinsable, so you can rinse them in the sink and let them dry off. They do stain, but once the color is stained on there, it won't actually transfer to your color. So if you use a lighter color, once this is dry, it's not going to ruin your project. One tip I am going to tell you though, this is a linen pad, as you can see here, and this is a foam pad. And most of our newer pads are foam, so you just want to be careful when you're pressing not to press too hard, because this little part right here on the brayer, it can tear your sponge. So just make sure that you use a really light hand when you're rolling. You don't have to, and if for some reason you're not inking up as much as you want, you might need to refill your inker. But this one's pretty full, so just roll several times. And this is definitely not like the old rubber brayer where you get lines. It's definitely much softer. Okay, so you're just going to roll on the top. And you probably can barely see that because soft sky is fairly light. But you can see it on there. If not, you can always add another one. And you want to kind of start at different spots. That way you don't have any lines. So kind of go down a little lower. So this is your soft sky. Probably can't even really see that, but I promise you it's there. It stops right here. Once we add the Marina Mist, it'll make a little bit more sense. So I'm going to close that one up. And then since this is a darker color and I'm going to darker and I'm not going to go back to light, I'm going to just use the same one, but you can certainly swap out for a different one if you'd like. Now with the linen pads, if you press on it, it's not likely that it's going to rip. But again, I just try to keep a softer hand. That way I don't go back and forth, and if I keep a softer hand, it's not likely I'm going to rip the ones that might rip. So now you have Marina Mist, so we're going to start with this one a little bit lower, and you can see that one definitely has more color. I'm going to go over the bottom again just to try to, get rid of that little line that I made. And this is kind of making a water-ish card, just to give you a little background, okay? So sky, water. I'm going to go over this just a little just to try to lose that line there. Now, when we had the old brayer, if you went on with multiple over the lines, it kind of covered the lines. The sponge brayers don't exactly work the same, but it does give a much softer inking versus the rubber brayer was definitely like, you could tell the ink was on there, but it was easier to cover the lines. I still prefer the rubber brayer more. I do like these because you can get a lighter ink color, but I will always love the other brayer. That was my absolute favorite. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of stamping because I'm going to cut one of these out. So what we're going to do, and I apologize, I keep looking off to the side here. I'm going to stamp. I'm going to bring this up here so I can see it. I just want to make sure it's not in your view. I don't want to get punished. So we're going to have some scrap white paper here, and we're going to do a little bit of stamping. We're going to stamp this flower right here in Calypso Coral. I think will be pretty. So we're going to stamp this in Calypso Coral. Let me just move this over for a second. And this is just a piece of scrap because we're going to trim this out, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp this. Actually, you know what? I think it was this other one that was layered. Let me try this one first because it looks a little bit more solid. I'm going to try this and then we'll see which one looks better. So I'm stamping it with the solid image first. Okay, and then probably should have done that in multiples. I bet you that's what it is. Let me see what this looks like if we do that in dark. Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the outline in Calypso Coral, and then I'm going to do the inside in Powder Pink, just so it kind of gives like a 2 effect, even though I know one's pinkish and one's orangish, just to kind of give a multi-color effect. So I'm going to put this on top. We'll see if that fills in. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we have powder pink is like the fill-in color here, and then Calypso Coral is going to be the outline. So this we're going to trim, but before we do that, we're also going to do, I'm going to keep these colors here, that way I remember what I used. But we're also going to do another little scrap, and we're going to do a dragonfly, okay? So we're going to do this little dragonfly. So I'm going to do his outline first. This is kind of neat because you can do this with this stamp set. You could do these with just the outlines if you wanted to, and then you could color them in, or you could do the stamps as well. So it kind of just depends on which way you want to go. I'm going to do him in Tranquil Tide. I still have mine too, Donna. I love my rubber brayer. That's probably, I think when I first started doing videos as a demo, that like rubber brayering was probably the most annoying technique that I did to people all the time. And they're probably like, Rachel, do something else. I love brayering. It is like truly, it's up there with heat embossing, like one of my favorite things to do. All right, so let's see. That one I think kind of has the same color. So I'm going to stick with the powder pink, and I'm going to do the wings of the dragonfly in the powder pink. So again, this is nice because if you don't want to do the layering, what you could do, and I'm going to do this twice. I'm stamping once and twice. And I probably needed to do that. That was just a little bit wet. I'm going to do this again, but I'm going to stamp off once first, just to fill in both sets of the wings. So I kind of stamped one in full ink and then stamped off on the other, and you could see it kind of re-wet that green. So, it's okay. We'll work with it. Also, as a sidebar, this will make a really cool funky heart. If you need something for Valentine's Day, there's a little heart there you could use. Really cute. So, I did a lot of brayering. Love brayering. It's like one of my favorite things to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this little dude out with my paper snips. And have the, oh, I know, I love, it does smooth out the bubbles. That's a really good tip, Rena. It absolutely does smooth out the bubbles if you're re-inking your stuff. But you know what I use for that, if I haven't showed you guys before? I use a plastic spoon. And I use the same spoon for everything. What I do is I'll put the drops on and I'll smush it down, and then I just wipe it with a baby wipe and dry it off. And I've never had any ink transfer. And I use... because I try to be a good recycler, because I try not to waste too much stuff and throw unneeded plastic stuff away. So if I have something, I'm always like, what can I take that upstairs and use it for? And then I'll just keep using it over again. But plastic spoons work really well as well if you're in a pinch and you don't have your brayer. But that's one thing I did ask. I wish they would bring back that rubber brayer. That was like truly one of my favorite things. I think that was where I like followed Tammy the most, when she was brayering. I used to watch her on my lunch break when I was at work, and oh, brayering is my absolute favorite. All right, so let me just trim this guy. I'm not going to go super close to his little antennas. This little dragonfly here. All right, almost done. I know this is like the third week in a row I think I've done fussy cutting, which is sometimes painful to watch, so thanks for hanging in there. All right, I got one little other spot here to nip. See if I can do it without cutting off his head by accident. Meanwhile, the fussy cutting I did last week was like completely needless, because that one has a coordinating framelit set. But you know, like a ding-dong. Okay, so we have our little dragonfly, and then I'm going to just trim just this top piece. I'm not going to trim this part out, because we're going to use this on top. Okay, so after you see this, you're going to understand why I said I wanted to do this one, because it's really, really neat what you can do. And I actually had to read this in the catalog to be able to find it. All right, trimming around here. Sorry, as soon as I finish doing this, so I don't slice off any of my fingers, I'll look. You forgot you had your rubber brayer? How could you do such a thing? I'm going to need to get my rubber brayer out soon and make a card with you guys, because I really missed that. I saw, actually, there's another really great stamp set that I might use next week that Connie Fitzgerald designed. I don't know if I think I showed you guys that one before. It's a lot of shadow stuff, which is also super, super duper fun when you do like sunset things with the silhouettes. So maybe next week I'll pull out the old rubber brayer I know it's not available for purchase through Stampin' Up anymore, but I love that darn rubber brayer. Oh, Carol Duvall. Oh, is that the lady that had the little sponges with the alcohol inks? If that's the one you're talking about, Karen, I have seen her video going like mad on Facebook. And I've had so many people tag me and say, is this going to be you? And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's me now. People probably think I'm a lunatic when I stamp as it is, but that's part of the fun of it. And that lady was really very cutting edge when she started doing that stuff. So really, and the mats, yeah. Okay, yeah, definitely. All right, next week we'll do the rubber brayer. We're bringing the brayer back, like Justin Timberlake, bringing the brayer back. All right, so now I have my dragonfly and my flower. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of eyeball where we want this, because we're going to need to add in our little stem here. All right, so let me just wipe this off. And I want to show you the other thing that's so cool. So what we're going to do before we add in, we're going to kind of figure, where do we think we want this to be? So kind of just eyeball it, because we're going to put some water rings down here at the bottom. So if we were to put a water ring like right here, maybe we'll put our water ring first, and that'll help us. I'm going to put our water ring down here where our flower is sitting. So I'm going to just pick this up. And I'm going to do this with, I'm going to do it with Island Indigo. Since it's going bye-byes, I used this one last week too. I really like this color. All right, so we're going to put a water ring here where our flower is. All right, and then while I have this out, I'm going to put just a few of these little wavy dudes over here. So it's kind of like ripples. All right. She's something. If you watch her, I know that they like really sped some of those videos up and kind of made her seem a little goofier than she was. But she really, I mean, was very creative. And you figure when they were doing that, that was kind of like before, probably back when Shelly started the company, where everything was like really new, you know, like that was very innovative back then with the alcohol inks, because I don't think alcohol inks have been around quite as long. All right, so I just took, again, the little waves and just added in some water, okay? Now, this is the part that's neat. So what this card has is it has like a reflection of this flower underneath. And it also has a reflection of the dragonfly. And I'm like, where was that? Well, let me tell you what they did. They took the stamp, so the dragonfly stamp, and they just flipped it over and used the other side to make the reflection. So cool. So it's like double duty for this. So once you see it, you'll totally appreciate it. And once you see it in the catalog, you'll be like, oh my gosh, what a cool idea. So what we're going to do, so we just took our stamp. So this is the side you normally stamp with. Okay. So we're just flipping it over. Okay. Look, like I invented something. I didn't even invent this. I just happened to see it, but it's really, really cool. Okay, so you guys always have a way of making me feel special, so thanks for the hearts. I really appreciate that. So what we will do is, I'm trying to think what would be a good color that once this comes out, you'll be able to use. Because Pacific Point is like a little bit too bright. Turquoise is definitely going to be too bright. How about some Bermuda Bay? Because that's going to be hanging around. That way, once you get this, you can try it, okay? I know it's shocking, isn't it? It's shocking that I read and found something in the catalog that it took me like however long to notice. So we're going to do both of them with the same shadow, since it's like a reflection into the water. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our stamp. I'm special. You're so sweet. And we're going to just ink. And this might be a little dark, so I'm going to stamp it on the paper just to see first. Yeah, this is a little dark. Bermuda Bay, I think, is going to be a little bit too much. So instead, let us go with, I mean, but look now. The coolest part is that, like, the possibilities are endless with what you could do this with. Let's do it with, yeah, let's try Pool Party. Pool Party might work. Once we have some additional colors, you know what would work? I bet would work. Coastal Cabana, since I have my original pad. Let's try that. Let's try Coastal Cabana and see how dark it is. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink this just like this on the back, and I just want to see how dark it is. That's definitely much lighter. We're going to do this one as the reflection. So we're going to ink, and again, I'm not going to do it a lot. I'm going to just do it. You want to make sure once you clean this that you repress it though, so it doesn't move. But I'm just going to ink it just a little bit, just so it's kind of light. And then I'm going to kind of line up. Make sure I have good coverage on there. I'm going to line up kind of under here, just like that, and just stamp it. You probably could also ooh, whoopsie, hold on. Let's see. Well, see, that's what happens when you do something for the first time. Okay, little darker than I wanted it to be. It's a little bit darker. So probably Pool Party would work better, but you can try this with all your different colors if you want to. So I'm just going to push this really hard, and I'm going to just really, really lightly tap the Coastal Cabana. I might even stamp it off just a little bit first. No, because it's making uneven stamps. All right, I'm going to try this again. So again, if you were pretending, you remember you have your flower's going to be here. So you're going to need to put this underneath of that little drip mark, or where the pool is there. I'm just going to push this down. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to clean this off because we still have to stamp this. We're going to flip this one over. And we're going to do this in a darker green. That way it contrasts that. And I think I'm going to do it with the Tranquil Tide again, just to kind of keep the dragonfly and the flower together-ish. And remember, we're only really doing this for the stem because we're going to pop this up on a dimensional. So I'm just doing the stem. If you wanted to, you could omit the top of the flower. Just want the stem to be dark. And then we're going to take some dimensionals. Before I'm finished with this, I want to show you one other thing I'm going to do. I'm going to take the Calypso Coral marker, and I'm going to just outline the edge of this. That way it kind of kills all those white spots that might be showing from fussy cutting. And I do this almost all the time. You can do it with, it doesn't really have to be coral. You could do it with a different color if you wanted it to kind of set off a little bit. But I do this whenever I fussy cut because I find that it covers up the white spots and it really makes it have more of a dimension, believe it or not. So with this one, I'm going to, the Stampin' Off didn't work so well, honestly, Donna, because it pulled the stamp off. So what I was going to say, the other thing you could do too is if you wanted a little bit lighter of a color is you could use like Pool Party. And then you could even try like spritzing it with a little bit of water just to dilute it. Or you could take your markers and color it. That way you knew you were coloring a little bit lighter. So I'm going to just fill that in. So I just kind of went around the edges of that. That was with the powder pink. And then we're going to put some dimensionals on the back of these two here. And I still have to find, because it does have a little bit of ribbon on this card. It's very pretty. Very, very pretty, but also very subtle. Really is a beautiful card. The other thing you could do too, if you didn't want to add dimensionals to this, just because it will give another layer, even just laying it on top, you could just put snail adhesive and just stick this directly to it. That would work equally as well. Another thing I could have done if I wanted to, which probably would have been smart since I'm using this as a panel, is to use the Grapefruit Grove for the flower. That would have been smart, but you know, sometimes I find things after the fact. All right, so I'm gonna put this little dude right up here, kind of like he's reflecting down. There we go. All right, so there's two more little components to this card. This is a very, very simple card. Again, we did a lot of like extra tips in between here, so that's kind of why it seems like it took forever. It really was not a difficult card. But again, you could do this with all of these if you wanted a shadow for any of these flowers. You could do it for this leaf. Like if you, this is like almost like a water, where did I do my stamp set? Here it is. If you had like a water lily, you could do that for this. You could do like stamp it up here and then have the reflection down in the bottom with the other side of it. Very simple, but very simple to swap around to lots of different stuff. All right, so now I'm going to see, hopefully I have some ribbon here that's not, I say out of style, but you know what I mean. Almost uncurrent. This is green. That's not going to work. Cucumber Crush. So, you know what would look pretty, and I use this quite often, is the burlap ribbon. I really like this burlap ribbon because I think it just has such a natural look to it. So I think I'm going to use a piece of that, and then I'll show you they put a little bit of a tie around it, and you guys can decide if you think you like that or not. but they used some white, and I'm going to use this. This was the Silver Baker's Twine. Not sure. I think this was from the Occasions catalog. So I'm going to just do this on what I'm going to do. And what I'm going to do is they have theirs, so the ribbon is kind of on there, and then they have this tied around it. I'm going to do mine with just a little bow. So I'm going to make a bow, and we'll see if we like it, we'll keep it. If not, we'll take it off. So I'm just going to do a little bow with my ribbon. And one tip I learned, if you are a ribbon tyer, and I'm going to show you the difference between the two. I learned this actually watching Angie Judah do bows. So I'm going to cut this one off so you can see the difference between the two. Now this is a little long, so we're going to need to trim it anyway. But you see this bow, how it's not really very straight and you got this kind of loopy thing. It takes practice, but if you tie your bows the opposite of how you normally tie, so if you were to tie your bow and you wrap it this way, if you wrap it the back way and pull it through, which again, it definitely takes practice because I still can't do it easily, it makes your bows turn out straighter. Hold on, see if I can even get it on here. But look, it makes your loops perfect. Look at the loops. There's not like this whole twisty thing to this one. So you do have to pull them tight to get them to stick. But let me just trim this down a little bit. So look at that one, and I'm going to see, I'll show them to you on here. You can see this one is very straight, and this one's kind of like half cocked, and one of them looks good, and the other one's all twisty. So if you tie them backwards, so when you're doing your bow, and I know some people do it different because I think it depends on how you learn to tie your shoe. But normally people will go around this way. So maybe if you're left-handed, you might automatically do it backwards, which is great. But if you go backwards, so instead of going around this way, if you go around backwards, and again, it does take like a little, truly does take a little practice to get it. Because when you're used to doing something one way your whole life, oops, and you change it, it kind of makes things, your brain has to think. But look, every time, straight bow. Oh, nope, that one I lied. Almost every time. You get what I mean. So I already did one. I don't want to make you suffer through another one. But tying your ribbon the opposite way makes your bow straight. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim off a little piece of this. And I don't want it too big of a piece because this is a little larger of a ribbon than what they used. They used something very slim. Kind of like, except this really isn't in our color combination. So they used something that was much more narrow like this. Which is pretty, but this color doesn't match. This is, I think it's Pacific Point. Nope, this is Dapper Denim. So, what we're going to do is we're going to put this on. We're going to put it on like this. See, that's a little too big. I might have to cut this down some because of where our little dude is here. Okay. Then we're going to put that there. We'll put this little guy on with a glue dot, and we'll put it all together so you guys can see exactly what it looks like. So I'm just putting him on with a glue dot, and we'll see if we do or don't like this. Other thing you could do too is you could, I'm going to set him here for a second. You could put this down with a stapler if you wanted to, if you still have like a little stapler, just to give like a little bit of dimension to it. Might have to bring this around. You know what I'm actually going to do with this, because it is a little bit fat, I'm going to cut it in half. So I'm just going to go straight down my burlap. So then instead I have a little tiny card. All right, so let me get my base and we'll get this assembled. And then what they did was, again, I told you this is what didn't fit all the way. They kind of centered it up here at the top. And theirs is a little bit more narrow, so I'm going to trim it off just a smidge. I'm just going to take a little bit off the edge here. So this one I think was 3 3/4, so we're going to go with 3 1/2. So I'm going to trim it down so it's 3 1/2. And we'll see if that looks a little better. Yeah, that's a little bit more narrow. Okay, so trim this down to 3 1/2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my Soft Sky marker, and I'm just going to run down the edge of the paper here, just so it kind of has that finished edge to it. Gets rid of the white. There we go. All right, so he's going to go right on here. This actually looks really, really cute. And then you could stamp your sentiment on the bottom if you want to add a sentiment to it. I'm not going to add one because I really don't know what I want to do at this point. But we have my little half piece here that I trimmed, which I think looks much, much better. So you can put this on with a mini glue dot. You can put it on with snail, with fast fuse, with Tombow liquid glue, up to you. I'm going to just put this on with a mini glue dot in case I change my mind of how I want it later. So I'm going to put one on the bottom and I'm going to put one on the inside to hold these two pieces together. So kind of like that. I'm going to put one more glue dot on the back. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to put this again up at the top. Just like that. I'm just going to smush it on. And then I have my little bow over here that I already put on a glue dot. So you can put that right here. Just like that. And then I'm not going to flip this over because I don't want to smash it. I'm going to just put some snail adhesive here on the top. And this is kind of, again, it's not like your standard piece. So this is 3.5. And then they put it like up here at the top. And then that way, if you wanted to, my paper's a little crooked. If you wanted to, you could stamp your sentiment along the bottom. So it actually could be like maybe just about a 1/4 inch shorter. But they don't even have the whole reflection on theirs either. So very similar. Again, they use more of a, probably a new color ribbon. I'm betting that's probably lipstick. I bet you it's lipstick ribbon. And then it has the bow on it is actually white. So it's the white baker twine, but really cute. It's very similar. I do think they have the lipstick color. So I probably could have gone with that, with the lipstick as this base color and then the grapefruit as the background color, because these do look very pretty together. But there you go. And then you could just add your little sentiment along the bottom there. But super fun, very easy. And again, this could be, you could do very muted tones, and it could be a sympathy, it could be it could be birthday card, it could be thinking of you, it could be, oh my gosh, so many different things. Really, really pretty. Lots of possibilities. You could do blues, make it very like subdued sympathy card or a masculine card, because again, even though it's a flower and a dragonfly, no reason this can't be a masculine card. So thank you guys for stopping by. We did use some colors that are going to retire on this. We used the Marina Mist, which is going, and the Soft Sky. Coastal Cabana is coming back. Hallelujah. And we still do have Calypso Coral. And then we used the Grapefruit Grove was the background color for this card. And again, all we did for this, in case you're coming in late, was we used the stamp for this part. And then we used the back of it to create the reflection, which is an incredible idea that you could use for so many other stamp sets now, which is really, really cool and fun. So lots of cool stuff to do. And I will draw a person for last week's winner. When I go downstairs, I will draw last week's winner, and then I will draw this week's winner. So make sure if you haven't already that you leave a comment so I can draw a winner for this. I appreciate all the shares and the hearts and the loves. If you missed in the beginning, if you go back to the beginning of this video, if you're coming in late, if that little red button isn't there, that means we're not live anymore. That means you're watching the replay, which is cool. But if you watch this from the beginning, there's also some tips on here just to go back for Facebook. If you all haven't been seeing the people that you love on Facebook, it's because Facebook changed the settings a little bit. So you can go back to the beginning and watch, and you can see how to add all your favorite people. That way you get notifications when they're live. But what we will do is next week we will come back. I will do another card out of the catalog, one that I can't show you, but we'll use the brayer for sure. So next week we'll use our rubber brayer. So hopefully, you know, I'm here for you guys. I like to do things to make you happy and make you see what you want to see. So if you want to see the brayer, we will do the brayer. I have no problem with that. You all know how much I love the brayer. So thank you guys as always for watching. Again, today starts the pre-order if you are a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. So if there's something you wanted to get, if you want to be able to get the new in colors, like the stamp pads, you still can get the special that is $125 worth of merchandise for $99. And I'm just going to flip through this real quick I'm going to make sure I don't fib and tell you the wrong information. I'm pretty sure that you could get all the new ink pads as part of that because they do have a bundle deal for them, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so you can get all of the new ink pads for $108. So you could join as a demo and get the new ink pads, and that would kind of fill a great slot, and then you'd still have about $20-ish worth of stuff to get left over. No, not $20, I'm fibbing. Like $13 worth of stuff to get. But that's a great thing you could do. They also have the markers are going to be a bundle. So the new in color markers, they have the new in color cardstock pack. So if you wanted to join as a demo, I would absolutely love to have you on my team. And we have a lot of cool ladies. We do blog hops and a lot of stuff we share just with ideas. You can join just for the discount. That's absolutely a cool possibility. Lots of people do that. That's why I joined. And look at all the cool stuff I have now. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I will post this card to the blog later, and I'll post the supplies. But again, customers won't be able to order this until June 1st. However, I do want to be able to share some stuff with you guys. And the Share What You Love product bundle, that went live yesterday for customers. So there is a huge pre-order for that. And you all can pre-order the new ink colors. You can get these. These are available as pre-order for customers starting yesterday. So you can get all of the new ink color pads, and that way you can make some fun stuff with it as well. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you back here, as always, next Wednesday at 9:30 live Eastern Standard Time for another fun card. And bring your rubber brayers. See you guys. I hope you have an awesome week.